Hello, and welcome once again to FairTax Power Radio. I'm Ron Malero, and
live from the Tuscaloosa Command Center, Roll Tide, I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Elaine Malero.
Yes.
And if you're in Tuscaloosa, the Roll Tide is just kind of obligatory, you know.
Yeah,
no offense to fans of other teams.
Anyways, welcome to this live episode of FairTax Power Radio. We appreciate your being with us. Even if you're watching later, that's good too. But we're going to talk about an ad that's been running. We have talked about this on FairTax Power Radio before. But first, let's make sure that if you need to get a hold of us, all right, our email, want to email something about the show, suggestions and so forth, our email address is thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. And we will be taking calls a little later in the show. You can see the number there on your screen, 888-787-8023. But we're going to get into this this ad that's been running here in Florida. Now, we're not trying to make this a Florida show, but what we're talking about is, since we're in political season now, if two people are running, two candidates are running, and one of them is a FairTax co-sponsor, sometimes you'll see the opponent try to demagogue the FairTax. That's what was happening here in Florida. That can happen anywhere. We've got co-sponsors across the country in the House and Senate, so this could happen anytime. So this is like practice. If you see this, this is what you do. Okay, so Gabe, can you run the 30-second ad? Here we go.
23% sales tax due to Florida's economy. If Congressman DeSantis had his way, everything would cost 23% more. Groceries, gas, home purchases. Congressman DeSantis sponsored legislation to increase sales taxes by 23%, hurting families, destroying jobs, devastating tourism. Washington is full of bad ideas and phony politicians. Ron DeSantis and his huge tax increase fit right in.
Okay.
Oh, I tell you what, the original plan here.
Yeah.
So much wrong with that.
Yeah, Bob, why don't you go ahead? You start.
I was going to say the original plan here on FairTax Power Radio was to get people to gather up things like that in various different races all over the country, and that we were going to do a whole episode on all of the different ones. But since this particular one is right here under our nose in Florida, and is typical of the kind of stuff that you get on the those kind of dishonest ads, we figure we'll tear that apart. We still want everybody to bring us stuff like that. We've lost audio.
Yep.
Uh-oh. I can hear a little bit.
Okay, you're back.
It dropped down. Wait.
I'm back.
Go ahead.
Okay, anyway, we still want people to collect those things and send us ads to that. Well, then you just go ahead and take it, Ron.
Gabe, we got a problem. Houston, we have a problem.
We'll get there. Is that better?
Well, one of the things you may notice, folks, is that I don't quite fit in with this group. So
Yeah, you do.
maybe if I did this. What do you think, Bob? Do I fit in now?
I think that works pretty well.
I'm not hearing Bob at all.
Oh, well.
Well, we'll let them work on it, and hopefully everybody can hear us, all right? But to start with, all right, the ad says, let me back up a little bit. In order to demagogue the fair tax, you either have to lie about it or you have to leave out very important information. This ad does a little bit of lying and a lot of leaving out, okay? And we're going to tackle that right now. So the first thing it says is it's going to add a 23% sales tax to everything you buy. That's not true, okay? Used items in the fair tax are not subject to the fair tax, all right? If you've studied the fair tax at all, if you're brand new to it, all right, the fair tax gets rid of the income tax, the federal income tax, all forms of the federal income tax, personal income tax, corporate income tax, estate tax, alternative minimum tax, and very importantly, the payroll tax. All right, all that stuff goes away. The IRS goes away. Substitute it for a sales tax. Now, there are a number of states around the country that have sales tax only and no income tax. Florida is one of them, okay? So
One thing you also have to remember is that once an item is taxed once under the fair tax, it's never taxable again. So if you want to purchase an item that the fair tax has already been paid, a used item, there is no fair tax.
Yeah. So but the.
Okay, I'm hearing some audio now.
Oh,
Is that
there,
better?
yeah,
you're back.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What that ad really leaves out is the fact that this huge 23% tax increase is not a tax increase at all.
No.
It is a replacement for the income tax.
Excellent.
And all the junk that comes with it. That includes withholding, that includes the federal payroll taxes, that includes the IRS, that includes tax returns. All of that stuff goes away with the FairTax. And that ad just kind of conveniently leaves all that out.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. And not only does it get rid of the IRS, but it relieves us of all the abuse that we take at the hands of the IRS. Okay.
Yeah, and it solves the evasion problem. How do you evade a tax that is included in the price of the things you buy?
Very difficult.
It's almost impossible. And I was reading another dishonest article the other day that said the evasion rate of the FairTax would be around 30%. And that's just not true at all. So,
No.
So that's it.
No,
In fact-
actually, that's more like the income tax evasion, right?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
right.
Yeah. And we did a study. The FairTax, the national group, Americans for Fair Taxation, did a study last year that showed that the evasion rate last year was around 21%, about $693 billion. This year, it's projected to be $734 billion. That's income taxes not collected because people are cheating. That's an evasion rate that's a problem. A sales tax has a very low evasion rate. So whoever came up with that 30% is just making stuff up.
It does. But back to the original contention that the FairTax would raise the price of everything you buy by 23% is just, balderdash as well, because it replaces the hidden cost of the income tax system in the price of everything we buy. If you go to your barber and get a haircut, the part of the money that you pay for a haircut ends up at the IRS as the barber's income tax.
Yep.
So you just tap that part of the component, the price goes away, and it's replaced with a FairTax. So the research that we've done on this thing says the prices will go up 5 to 10% maybe, but then again you'll have your whole paycheck, you'll have the prebate, your purchasing power will go up much more under the FairTax. It is not going to make everything 23% more expensive on top of all the taxes you're paying now. That is just so flagrantly dishonest, it makes my blood boil.
And Sandy on Facebook is reminding us, tell them about the prebate. Okay, the prebate is the nickname for the family consumption allowance. Very often when you tell people the fair tax is a sales tax, knee-jerk reaction is, oh, it's a sales tax. It's regressive. It hurts the poor. A normal sales tax? Yeah, not the fair tax. The fair tax has the family consumption allowance. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it reimburses everybody for the tax they will be paying and the basic necessities.
And notice how that ad leaves that out.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And there are some people out there saying that the prebate is going to be a huge new federal entitlement that's not a tax refund. And I ask them, how do you know that? It is based on your poverty level.
Yeah.
It is based on how much spending, how much fair tax will be charged on spending up to the poverty level. And you never make that same case about the IRS tax refunds. Those aren't entitlements, but somebody's trying to say the prebate is. So that's just the kind of dishonesty you're up against. And again, folks, if you are seeing ads of this dishonesty level in your level, let us know about it. Send us a link on our Facebook page or notify us here at the FairTaxGuys@gmail.com. We will do another program on these things, highlighting some more of these dishonest ads all around the country.
All right, Elaine, what did you find interesting?
Oh, and Ron, by the way, I cannot see the Facebook comments in here.
Oh, okay. All right.
okay.
All right.
So you'll have to respond to those.
I'll take a look at them.
Well, they're always talking about how, or in this ad, they're talking about how it's going to hurt the family. Well, we've already talked about the prebate, so that's something that's going to help families, not hurt them. Also, there is no tax on the interest on your savings. So if you happen to have interest on your savings, you're going to be collecting more money. It doesn't matter how much money you make or where you get that money. It is not taxed until you spend it.
If you'd like to save and invest totally tax-free,
Exactly.
you might be a FairTax fan.
And for those seniors out there like us,
All three of us.
All three of us. When you put money into like a TSA, IRA, whatever, when you take it out, you get taxed under the income tax because that's money that, even though you earned it and you saved it, you're now going to take it out of the government's funds, so consequently you are going to have to pay taxes on it. Under the FairTax, that's yours. That is all yours.
Sorry. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay between them, so I'm sorry if I step on this.
That's all right.
But another incredibly dishonest point in that ad is that it will kill jobs. The FairTax ad. Now, a regular 23% sales tax might do that, but the FairTax will be rocket fuel for the economy. Because how could we saw this? The tax relief that we got in December cut the corporate tax rate from 39% down to 21%, and we saw what happened.
Yep.
Bonuses, all kinds of good economic activity, 4.1% growth this last time. And if that happens, I'm hearing a little bit of a delay. That's why I'm stumbling a little bit here. But if you would cut the corporate tax to zero, which the FairTax does, it would be the most business-friendly economy on the face of the planet. You would have to hide under a rock not to be able to find a job if the FairTax were lost. So that part about it killing jobs is just plain out wrong.
No, and the other thing the FairTax does is it cuts way back on paperwork for corporations. All right,
their compliance costs go away.
Yeah, the compliance costs for many small businesses, which create most of the jobs in this country, the compliance costs for many small businesses are higher than the tax itself. It's a huge cost of doing business. The cost of doing business gets rolled into the price of their product or service every time. We end up paying for them. You get rid of the income tax, you get rid of those compliance costs, the cost of doing business comes down, all right? They can do more business, they can hire more people. And there's a lot of research. You can go on to FairTax.org and check out the research there under the FAQs or the research tab. And you can see all the research that shows that the FairTax is really going to boost the economy. So what else on this ad can we...
isn't it ironic that this person who wants to be the governor of a state that has no income tax is viciously attacking the one plan that would make the federal tax system mirror Florida? Yeah. Kind of makes you wonder if Mr. Putnam wants to have an income tax here in Florida.
Not only that, but the Florida legislature passed what they call SM 118, which is a Senate memorial, which is a resolution stating that, well, if I can get the wordage right here, urges Congress to repeal all taxes on income and enact a national retail sales tax as specified in H.R. 25, the FairTax Act. Now
that passed almost unanimously.
Yes, it did.
Right. Great deal of bipartisan support there.
So what he's trying to do by placing this ad is to say, I want to be part of the governor, the leader of this state who has already endorsed the fair tax, and I'm going to accuse my opponent of signing the bill that would actually do that. It doesn't make sense.
What really registers in my mind here is if this guy is going to be that dishonest during the campaign, what kind of ethics is he going to bring to the governor's office? You know, you have to question his entire honesty.
Here's another point. In the ad, he talks about the Washington establishment, all right? The Washington is full of bad ideas and so forth. The fair tax has been in Washington since 1999 as a
but
bill.
It's not a Washington idea.
No.
It is a private sector idea.
If the Washington establishment or the swamp, whatever you want to call it, if they thought this was a good idea, it would have passed long ago, all right? But they're fighting it tooth and nail. And that's why, that's why we work so hard. That's why we asked you folks to join in our fight to get the fair tax, because this really, truly is good for the country and it's good for the citizens. Get rid of the income tax, including the payroll tax. Get rid of the IRS, all right? Go to a sales tax. And again, we were talking about, everything is not going to go up 23% because the cost of doing business is going to come down, way down, and then you put the sales tax in there. Yes, prices will go up somewhat, all right, but not by 23%. But you'll have, what will your paycheck be like without the payroll tax in there, okay? How much will the prebate be? Well, the prebate for a family of 4 is $634. What would your household be like with another $600 and something, if you're a family of 4, okay? So it's very disingenuous. That ad, I realize it was done by a PAC, and the candidate has no control over what the PAC does.
Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically, yes. But it's just not a good idea. So.
Okay, we're about halfway through the program, and we will be taking phone calls. If you can give us a call here at 888-787-8023. If you've got a comment about what we're talking about,
there was one other thing,
you'll have
Bob.
to bring the callers in because I can't hear them.
Okay, there was one other thing, is that I noticed when I found this ad on YouTube, comments were shut off. They weren't allowing any comments. Gee, I wonder why. Anyways.
Okay, 888-787-8023. You see the number there across the bottom of the screen. It is 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time. So if you're hearing it at this time, rather than watching it after the fact, we'll be glad to take your phone calls about just about anything about the FairTax you want to talk. But we do want to focus on this dishonest ad and this dishonesty that people use against the FairTax.
Yeah.
And shine a lot of truth on those little cockroaches.
Yeah. So
maybe at this time we should also thank those candidates who have actually signed the FairTax Pledge. There have been many around the country. Yes,
that's right.
There have been many around the country who have signed the pledge that if they are elected, they will co-sponsor the FairTax bill.
Now, our other volunteer, Randy, who has been on this show before, he's with both the Florida FairTax Educational Association and the national group AFFT, and he's been collecting these candidate pledges, from all over the country. So that's a good thing. We always, try to encourage the candidates, sign this pledge, pledge yourself to the FairTax. And people we have found in the past, candidates who co-sponsor the FairTax and in their campaigns run strongly on it, they do well. You don't have to shy away from it. They do well. And
Ron, one other point we need to beat on is that we have brought this to the attention of the candidate himself. And he has doubled down on what's in this ad.
Yeah.
That's insane.
You probably saw the email that I sent to the candidates' to the candidates' campaign through their website. I sent a lengthy email as the president of the Florida FairTax Educational Association, and spelled out a number of things that I think are a problem for them. But
now, the
I don't want
to endorse candidates. But we, the FairTax guys, can, and we don't want you to vote for this guy who's running this dishonest ad.
I'd rather.
I don't want anybody who's running a dishonest ad to get elected. That's the main thing.
True.
Yeah, it's not pleasant, and we've been working on the FairTax a long time, but there are people on the board here in Florida and across the country that have been working on it a lot longer. We're going to have Steve Hayes on the show in a couple of weeks at the end of the month on the 29th. He's been working on the idea of a consumption tax since before there was a fair tax. All right, he's been working on it, and so
that was hatched in the mid-'90s.
Yeah,
and he's been working on it since before then.
So when a candidate decides to demagogue the fair tax, they're hurting all the hard work we put in on this, and we're all volunteers. There is nobody that gets paid in any of the FairTax organizations. We are all volunteers,
That's right.
And we do this passionately because we passionately believe in the fair tax. All right.
Okay, for any late tuners in, can we roll that ad again, Gabe? Just so folks can see what we're talking about.
Yep, there it goes.
There we go.
Sales tax due to Florida's economy. If Congressman DeSantis had his way, everything would cost 23% more.
Wrong.
Gas, home purchases. Congressman DeSantis sponsored legislation to increase sales taxes by 23%, hurting families, destroying jobs, devastating tourism. Washington is full of bad ideas and phony politicians. Ron DeSantis and his huge tax increase fit right in.
Yeah, there are 47 co-sponsors in the House. All right.
And he says that ad says it's going to increase sales taxes by 23%,
No.
implying that this is a new tax burden that's going to be heaped on top of what you're already paying.
Yeah.
And of course, the biggest omission is that 23% tax replaces the income tax.
Exactly.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
That's what he doesn't tell you.
Okay. So actually the thing about hurting families, the FairTax will help, especially families that are just getting by, the people that are operating right at the poverty level. It's going to be the FairTax will be a huge benefit to these folks. All right,
because the federal payroll taxes.
That's the most regressive tax we have.
Medicare, the most regressive on the books, because everybody pays the same percent, and you don't get that back.
Yeah.
Even though you might get some of your withholding back if your income isn't all that high, you don't get that back.
By the way,
FairTax makes those go away.
The prebate card, the little business card, you can find these and the palm cards and a bunch of other FairTax promotional items on the FairTaxLogoStore.org, the FairTaxLogoStore.org, and we, the shirts like this, the hats and so forth. All right,
they're all there.
And this prebate card take a family of 4, mom and dad and 2 kids. All right, according to Health and Human Services, a federal agency, it requires $32,000. These are not the best glasses. $32,920 to maintain a family of 4: food, clothing, shelter, basic Medicare, things like that. Okay, so yes, when they buy groceries and when they pay the rent and so forth, yes, the FairTax will be added to that. And to avoid the negative effect of sales tax on everybody, not just the poor, but everybody, the prebate will reimburse them for the FairTax they'll pay on the basic necessities. So if you've got a family of 4 that's earning, about $33,000, just getting by, all right, they're not going on big vacations and so forth, they're going to be rendered pretty much tax-free. If they earn more than that and they spend more than that, so be it. They get the same prebate because it's only dependent on the size of the household. All right?
Okay, if you want to get your 2 cents in, we got just a few minutes left here. 888-787-8023 is our toll-free number.
Yeah.
And we'd call us up. We got a few minutes to talk to you.
That ad also says it's going to hurt tourism. Well, if you don't have any money in your pocket, you're not going to be a tourist, are you? No. Well, under the FairTax, we've got more jobs being created. We've got people keeping their own money, the money they earned. It's easier to save because we're not taxing your savings or your investments. So tourism is going to boom. It's not going to get worse.
Yeah. People are going to have more disposable cash. It's going to really boost the economy. And like I said, there's a lot of research that supports that. All right.
No doubt about it. But
got about
tell you what,
7 minutes
we ask
left.
people to send us any other examples of these kind of dishonest demagoguery against the FairTax that they happen to see. And I would imagine that is going to increase. Of course, the primaries are here the next couple of months. Then the general election in November, it's really going to turn up.
Yeah.
And we want to we want to shine the light of truth on folks that are just not telling the truth about the FairTax at all. And encourage people to go to FairTax.org to actually get the right story.
Stanley says, why can't this get passed? That is the $64 question, all right? Our biggest obstacle?
Congress critters who are addicted to lobbyists' cash.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. We have to work on our Congress critters and make sure that you have to contact your congressman or woman and make sure, study up on the FairTax. Make sure you know what you're talking about. And then go see them or write a letter or a phone call or whatever. Contact your congressman's office and make sure they understand that you support the FairTax, you've studied it, and you expect them to be a co-sponsor. And you get all
Go to
the
their town halls and ask them what they love so much about the IRS.
Yeah. Unfortunately, some of these folks that have been up there for 30, 40, 50 years, they love the income tax because the lobbyists come to them. Mr. Congressman, we need a bill, we need an addition to the income tax that does this for my client. And the congressman sponsors the bill. Then the congressman gets a nice campaign donation, which they keep when they retire. I wish more of these folks would retire early.
One other thing that people can do is if you're congressman or congresswoman is a co-sponsor of the bill, call them and thank them.
Yeah.
They like to know that they are being appreciated for putting their necks out and doing the right thing.
Yeah, yeah. But as I
make
said,
sure that if your congressperson is a co-sponsor, they're not the co-sponsor in name only, that they are actually an active supporter
Yes.
of the FairTax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the congressman we have here in Florida 3 is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Congressman Yoho, he's a strong supporter of the FairTax. All right.
We appreciate
So-
that. And again, let's remind everybody that Steve Hayes, the president of the National AFFT Group, will be right here on FairTax Power Radio in 3 weeks on the 29th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trying to do my math here.
On the
Yeah.
29th.
2 or 3, that's 3 weeks.
Yep. That'll be a live show, and he'll
And we'll be live next week as well. We usually do one live and then one in the can, but since coming up here to Alabama kind of put a kink in our schedule, we will be live again this time next week.
Yeah.
And then live again on the 29th with Steve Hayes.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. That'll be good. Let's go down our list of member mentions. There, Facebook is a good way to spread the FairTax word, but there's also another site at member.fairtax.org. Its nickname is FairTax USA. Member.fairtax.org, and we encourage everybody to join that. It's a Facebook-like site, but it's only for fair taxers, okay? So if you're even close to being passionate as we are about the fair tax, please go in there, lend a hand, put some comments in there or whatever, and lend your voice to the rest of them so we can, and it's a good way for people across the different parts of the country to share information. Like we had a strawberry festival that we attended yesterday and we saw thousands of people and so forth, or we tried to do this and it didn't work so well. It's a good way to share information.
And talking about FairTax and a lot of the other big social media outlets that are excluding some programming from their platform, we need to point folks towards Excluded TV.
Excluded, yes.
Yeah,
Excluded.
the FairTax guys are pleased to be associated with Excluded.tv. Again, that is a subscription service, a very modest $30 a year to get it.
Yeah.
And you get our show, you get a lot of other good shows that are actually going to be banned on some of these other big social media outlets. So we encourage people to do that.
You've got somebody on the phone?
I don't know. I can't hear him.
John Martin Talks.
Oh,
It's
that's
also
right.
on Excluded.
That's right.
Tune in. It's worth listening to.
Yep, that's right.
Also, we have a comment here from an Ann who says, where can we find the list of politicians who are in support of the fair tax? You can get that right at fairtax.org.
Yep.
There's
also
lots of good information on fairtax.org. And then bigsolution.org is the website you go to get involved.
Yeah.
Educate yourself at fairtax.org. Get yourself involved at bigsolution.org.
Yeah. So
That's solution with an N, no S there.
Excluded that Bob was talking about is the brainchild of Big Daddy Studios that have been so kind as to invite us to do this podcast or digital TV show every week. So we're greatly indebted to Big Daddy Studios. Thank you very much, all of you guys. All right.
All right. How's your time doing?
We've got a minute and a half. PopVox, POPVOX. That's a great little website, popvox.com. That's a great little website where you can go and you can put in your opinion on any pending legislation. We ask you to go in there and put in your opinion for H.R. 25, the fair tax, whether you're for or against it, and also on the Senate version, S18. Okay, they're sister legislation. And you can also, if you find any other tax proposals, you can tell them why you don't think it's such a good idea. So PopVox is a great site, and Congress people do use it. They do watch it because it breaks it down as to who's saying what about what legislation in their district.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, let's encourage people to bring to our attention any dishonest ads like we've talked about on this episode that are running in their area of the country, demagoguing the fair tax. We will shine the light of truth on those folks on a later FairTax Power Radio episode. Yep. You can get us at the FairTaxGuys@gmail.com or like us on our Facebook page. And if my clock is the same as yours, we're just about out of time here for this edition of FairTax Power Radio. As always, I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And I'm Elaine Malero.
All right, the FairTax Guys and Gal today reminding you that the FairTax is America's big solution, and once you understand it,
You'll demand it.
Oh, these income tax forms are way too complicated. There's got to be a better way. Who are you?
we're the FairTax Guys.
We've got a big solution for you.
What's that?
It's the FairTax. Completely eliminates the federal income tax system as we know it. No more withholding, no more payroll taxes, no more tax returns ever, no more IRS. All gone. And I guarantee you, once you understand it,
You'll demand it.
Yeah.